Hello, this video is going to be about how I clean my bearings after I've used my Traxxas Rally or my Traxxas Scully. This is going to be how I clean them. So I've taken off one of the front wheels to show you, as you can see, and I'm going to go through the process of taking off the wheel hex and removing the pin, and then the disassembly to take out the part with the axle, and then to remove the drive shaft and take out the bearings, remove the shields from the bearings, clean them, grease them, and then put everything back together. So first, what you want to do is remove this wheel hex here. So I just use a flathead screwdriver and you put it in and pry it off. Some people have those aluminium upgrade ones with grub screws. In that case you just remove the grub screw, but in this case I just use a flathead screwdriver to pry off the wheel hex. So once you've popped off the wheel hex using the flathead screwdriver, it just slides right off, and you can see that it's held on using a little, I don't know if I can kind of get it to see that it has a little notch in it, a gap for this bar. So when you've taken out the wheel hex and put it to the side, you'll want to take out this pin that's in here, and you'll also want to take out the washer that's behind that pin. And once you've done that, you'll see that I now have access to this bearing, but I can't get to the one on the other side, and I also can't remove the axle yet because everything's still attached to the car. So I'll be back when I've removed the necessary parts to take out the axle, and then I'll go through it. So to remove the steering block, you'll need to remove the top and bottom shoulder screw and the little screw that goes and holds the steering linkage in place. So the two shoulder screws look like this, and the other screw for the steering looks like that. And to remove the two shoulder screws, you'll need the large Allen key that comes with your Traxxas vehicle, and you'll need to remove the steering screw, you'll need the smaller Allen key that comes with your Traxxas vehicle. So once you've done that, it should be relatively easy to wiggle it free, if everything is free, and then you pull it out of the steering holder and you pull it out the caster block. You can see there's that bit that was keeping it in, and then you just pop out the steering block, and then you have full access to the bearings. So once you do that, you'll see that there might be a bearing stuck on here on the axle, or it might be in this side of the steering block. In my case it's on the axle, and the smaller bearing is in the outside of the steering block. So you just pop those out, and then I'll show you what to do next. So once you've popped out the bearings, you'll see that there's a larger inside one, and there'll be a smaller outer one. And the first thing I like to do, just to get some of the grime off to make it easier to work on them, is I use a bit of a damp dishcloth, and I just kind of wipe down the bearings to get some of the grime off, to make them a bit easier to work on when I go and grease them and everything. So I'll be back when I've cleaned them off. So once you've just kind of gave them a quick wipe down, you'll want to take off the little kind of covers that are on either side. In this case they're the little blue rubber ones. If you have metal ones you can't really take them off, but with these ones you can. So what I'm going to do is take off the covers, put some WD-40 type stuff on it, leave them for a few minutes, completely dry them and then put some marine grease in them before replacing them. So I'm going to do that now. So now that I've removed those shields from the bearings, and now that I've used some WD-40 and then dried them, the next thing I'm going to do is use some of this synthetic racing grease. It's like marine grease for bikes, but it works well on these bearings too. So what I do is I use a really fine screwdriver to apply parts of grease, little bits of grease, to all of the bits of the bearing. So there's what it looks like. I kind of have to, well, you can't really see it. It's like a red grease that's, yeah, like that. So what I do is I just put a tiny bit on, going all the way around the bearing, and then when I finish and put the shield back on, I wipe it down to get rid of any grease that's on the outside. So I do that for all of the bearings on both sides. So I'll be back when I've done that and clipped on the seals again. So once you've greased up the bearings and put the rubber covers back on, you'll want to reinstall them into the steering knuckle for your remote control car. So what I do is I get the smaller bearing, which goes on the outside part, and I just press fit it into place. It's a nice friction fit, so now that top bearing's in place. And then I do the same thing to the larger inside bearing. And again, it's just a nice friction fit. And then when you've done that, you'll want to put everything back onto your car. So I'll get back when I've got everything set up to do that. So what you want to do first is get the end of the drive shaft and put it through the steering block, making sure that it goes in all of the way so that the hole for the pin is visible, and then it clicks into the caster block, and then you put in the top and the bottom shoulder screw, and once you've done that you reattach the steering linkage. So I'll be back when I've done that. So once you've got that put back together, you'll want to reinstall the wheel hex, which you'll do first by using this washer, and that just slides right over the axle. Like that. And then you'll get the little pin that locks the wheel hex in place, and that goes through the little hole in the stub axle. Make sure it's roughly equal on both sides, and then you can go about clipping the wheel hex back on. So just try and line up where the hole is, and then click it on, and it should just click on like that. And then once you've done that, you can just go and put the wheel back on, and then that's the entire thing complete. So thanks for watching this video, and I hope that it's helped if you watch this to see how to do it if you weren't sure. So thanks for watching, and I'll be making more videos like this, hopefully improving the quality soon. Bye.